good morning, one and all. Welcome to today's episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption, Incompetence. Today is Wednesday, the 17th day of December in the year of our Lord, 2025. Season's greetings to you all. Season's greetings. As you say, Merry Christmas. It's just around the corner. Next week, Wednesday, we are going to be observing Christmas Eve Day, right? And you know, for many, that day is a holiday as well, because a lot of people really work on Christmas Eve Day, right? It starts. So welcome to this great day that the Lord has made, Wednesday, the 17th day of December, 2025. Another great day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. Let's give praise and thanks to be in the land of the living. It is a privilege to be in the land of the living. Many persons would not have been this fortunate, and we should never ever take that for granted. It's only by the grace and mercies of the Almighty that we are here to be in the land of the living, to participate in this program that people describe as very educational and informative. So as we say to you, share the live, let them know that we are on. I know people are very busy at this time. 1 week before Christmas, people are extremely busy getting the gifts, buying your stuff for your black cake and your garlic pork and your pepper pot and whatever else. Some people, ginger beer, sorrel. Some people don't want this garlic pork thing because they say them is, they don't eat pork. They don't deal with Arnold. Some people don't deal with Arnold. Well, let me tell you all this, Some will say Arnold is one of the sweetest meats there is, right? Arnold is the sweetest meat. A man said the other day, we talk about pepper pot and what you put in the pepper pot. You get your coil, oxtail, your beef, and all these things in the pepper pot. Pork. A man told me this is no joke. A man say, if the pepper pot does not have pork inside, it is not pepper pot. It is stew beef or beef stew, whatever you want to say. That is what someone actually told me. He said pepper pot must have pork. If it does not have pork, you can't call it pepper pot. You got to call it stew beef, right? So that is what some people believe. But, whatever it is, make sure that you are taken care of for the early season. So welcome, one and all. Welcome. We have so much to tell you today, so much to tell you. So much is going on, and we are going to bring it to you. My colleague, CC, is in the studio. He's rearing and ready to go. As I've said, we have so much to tell you that we got to make sure that we prioritize what needs to be discussed today, and then we're going to go on. Some people saying, look at the comments. Rhonda and a lot of people tell me, say, that is true, meaning that if it doesn't get pork in the pepper pot, you can't call it pepper pot. Call it something else, right? Call it something else. And people are telling me about eggs. Eggs, Christmas, something that is crucial to cake. $3,000 a tray, they're saying. $3,000 a tray, they're saying. And not only pork in itself, is the part like the trotters. The trotters got to be there. The trotters must be there. Some people are going to be offended because they don't mess with Arnold, right? They don't mess with Arnold, but that is what some of us believe, right? Some of us believe. Have to have Arnold. Have to have your Arnold. Somebody said, Lorelli said, the pepper got to get pork, or she want it. She want it. You like me, my dear. And not only pork, it has to have the trotters, the feet, right? The trotters got to be there. So it's not only the coil or the Jamaican friends, you say bullfoot. Not only the bullfoot. Don't forget your little trotters. If you can afford oxtail, your little oxtail. And yes, right. Some people say, somebody telling Rosie, tell me pigtail. Why don't you use pigtail in it? But yes. So welcome. And share the live. Let them know that you're on. Give us a thumbs up. And then we got to move. We're going to acknowledge those who are here very early. And then we are going to give you the announcements. And then we're going to move into today's program. As I indicated, we have lots to tell you. I know it can't finish today, but we're going to come and we're going to come. We come loyally to you and to bring you this information. The program was scheduled at School Gate open at 8 o'clock on the dot this morning. And the man came down from the hills. Ballhead is the first man here from the hills. We have Sean, Wayne from the UK, Peter, Ezzy, Ulrich was here very early at 8 o'clock. Kenneth from Maryland is here. Kerry from Guyana, or in Guyana is here. Ricky Smith Jack is here very early as well. Joy, Rawl is here. Brenda came in early. Paulette. Then it was Aubrey from Canada. All these people came at 8, you know. Or Jacko is here. And Jacko in Georgia. He came 1 minute after 8 o'clock. Paulette, Joan from New Amsterdam. Malcolm, Pinky, Sandra. That was Winston from California. Rosalind, Clifton. And Clifton is all the way from Paris. Trotty is here. Denise from Florida. Then it was Moses. Then Bonita, Francis Keith from Melanie Damashana. They all came in within the first minute. And then when the doors were open, let me see how the student entered into the school room. First person in, according to what I see here, is Colvis. Then Rosie came back there. Lennox. Then it was Simon. Commissioner Cole is here very early. Carlton Popo is here as well. Steve, Pam, West Demerara is here. And the list goes on. Stian came in early as well. Sharon. And the list goes on and on and on. So welcome. I'll share the life. We have today's discussion. We have more every day. You know, even to the last day, Monday, people commented when I looked at the comment earlier. People tell me that's one of the better programs they have seen and all this stuff. Yeah, you know, you get different interests. Different people have different interests, but we try to pull it together and bring it to you so that you can get credible information as to what is going on in this dear land of Guyana. Country, a man, he said, dear land of Guyana of revelry and waves. Right? My friend Pablo Yewood, the late Pablo Yewood, used to tell this story about the man who wrote the national anthem, right? In an application, first verse, the land of Guyana of revelry and raves. And then the man said, Pablo said the man went into German. He said revelry and raves, sensentin, blitz and blitzen, blitz, the man thing in there. So yes. Let me give you we start with the sad announcements first, and then we're going to give you the more pleasant ones. Sad is that 642 days since Sergeant Alex Vaughn was killed, and this police force that claims to be transparent, the government that claims to be transparent, they're not telling the family, they're not telling anyone anything apart from the initial reports that they gave. 642 days. Imagine that, a police sergeant killed on duty, right? 642 days after you're not hearing anything substantive about what is going on. Yeah, and then I told you we told you about the death of my squad mate, Claudette Gibbs. She's going to be buried on the 27th in Florida. I don't have any other detail on that. I was inquiring about the funeral arrangement for Tessa, retired Chief Inspector Tessa Smith. I'm advised that they haven't made the final arrangements as yet, and we are going to tell you about that when the information is available. And then also we told about the death of retired Chief Inspector Gregory Forbes Stratman, used to be at the Presidential Guard. No further information on that. There, and then I on the last occasion there, Monday, we told you about the death of my squad mate, 9423, Christopher Johnson, right? Well, information is that Chris will be buried on Saturday coming, Saturday in New Jersey. Saturday 20th, he'll be buried in New Jersey. And I have the arrangements here. They say funeral Saturday, December the 20th, Cotton Funeral Home, 130 Main Street, Orange, New Jersey. Viewing from 8 to 11, viewing from 8 to 11, followed by the service. And burial will take place at Hollywood Cemetery, 161 Stuyvesant Avenue, Union, New Jersey. And there will be a wake on Friday night at 118 Hillside Terrace, Irvington, New Jersey. So there's Christopher Johnson, 9423, the older policeman, remember him, Quartermaster Stores, national footballer. So Chris is going to be buried on Saturday. Then we told you too about the death of the wife of a loyal student, retired Superintendent Vibert Smith, who's always on this program. Always. Vibert, the wife died suddenly. And then we told you about the running around for the post-mortem examination. Should have been done on Monday. Because of the negligence of the police, could not have been done on Monday. I understand that the arrangements were made for it to be done this morning, and therefore even the funeral that was to take place had to be put off. I think it's Monday or sometime now for the funeral. We'll keep you updated. And you say Olaus on Olaus. So Smitty's wife died Monday, and would you believe that yesterday was a few days ago? His wife died Monday or can't remember. No, I think it might have been Friday. She died Friday. His sister-in-law, his wife's sister, died a few days ago. Suddenly too again. So his wife died, I think it was Friday. Yeah, Friday. The postmortem was to be Monday. And then Tuesday, yesterday afternoon, or Monday afternoon. Could have been Monday afternoon. His sister-in-law, the deceased wife's sister, died as well. So they have two deaths in that family. Some people really get it rough, especially at this Christmas time. And our name was Kim Jones. Kim Jones. I think she was from Craig on the east bank of Demerara. She died suddenly as well. So Smithy get the yarn full, so to speak. And then I learned yesterday of the death of a former member, 9225 Wilton Richmond, Sukali Byler, right? And he used to, some years ago in the 70s, I understand, he was stationed at Maikoni, Micah area, C Division. He died in Antigua, where he resided. And a relative called me to tell me the thing. The man was preparing to travel to Guyana for Christmas. He was preparing to travel to Guyana to Christmas. And on his way, walking down the road in Antigua, fell down and died, right? Fell down and died, right? So we have that. No further information that. Then there's another death in the police family. A woman, Special Constable Jalise Bailey Price, right? She was stationed at Fort Wellington Police Station. I think she was the sister of retired woman Superintendent Stevens, and she died recently as well. Then this morning I learned of the death of the mother of another student, former member of the force, Leon Schwartz, 10025. His mother passed away on the 13th, and I think she's going to be buried on the 22nd, I understand. Service will be at the Central Assembly, Arnock Street, Georgetown. And then this, police family again. This morning I learned of the death of another former member, Tyrone Edwards, 14949 Tyrone Edwards. They used to call him Big Eddie. He used to be at Impact, and then he was stationed at TSU for a while. He died this morning at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation. So we get a lot of death in the police family and so on. Lots of death. Before I come off of that, we told you about the death of Ron Robinson, a famous announcer, actor, and a jack of all, really. Ron, funeral arrangements have been made known. They say there's a book of condolence at the NCN on Church Avenue for those people want to sign. And then last night, between 7 and 10, there was a call-in program on 104.1 Light FM hosted by Bobby Vera, Margaret Lawrence, and Desiree Edgell. I tuned it to it on a spell. And, people call in to tell you about some of the program, Run's Rendezvous, things like Stretch Out Magazine, and all those programs that he was on. But one of the, I think it was Jem who called to say that he had already done some recording for the programs for this Christmas. Because people were wondering if you're going to still get Link Show. But he didn't get to do the Link Show, she said. But the one, the Stretch Out Magazine, I think it is, he was able. Because on the one, he just come as Santa Claus and he bring in gifts for different people and so on. So he, that recording was done. So we're going to see Ron acting on the one around Christmas when that is broadcast. So that was last night. Tonight, From 7 p.m., there will be a night of reflections at NCN Umstretch Avenue. That's the National Communication Network. From 7, night of reflection. Then tomorrow, the 18th, from 7 p.m., night of reflections at the Theatre Guild, held jointly by the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport and the Theatre Guild. That's tomorrow night. Funeral will be on Friday, the 19th. And it's here from 12:15 p.m. to 12:55 p.m. Viewing under the canopy at the Natural Culture Center tarmac there. Then 1 p.m. he will depart. The body will depart for St. George's Cathedral. 1:15 it will drive by. Well, I guess it's on the way to St. George's. Drive by the Theatre Guild Playhouse to St. George's. Yeah, he'll drive by the Theatre Guild Playhouse in Parade Street, Kingston there. And then at 1:30 to 2:30, tributes will be paid at the St. George's. Funeral service from 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. at St. George's. Then to the Memorial Gardens for cremation. He'll be cremated on Friday. So that is run. Again, condolences to all the relatives and friends of all those deceased persons. Now, there was a long announcement of deaths and so on. We got to keep that away. We got to keep it away. And let me get you the more, what we call the more pleasant ones. More days. I know today is, let me look for the note. I usually make notes of these things. Today, here it is. Today is the birth anniversary of Woman Assistant Superintendent Janelle Davis. I don't know where she's stationed now. She used to be at headquarters, Janelle Lynch Davis. Also today is the birth anniversary of retired Superintendent Rupert Hines, my countryman, man from BV. Rupert retired many years ago as superintendent. Today is natal day. The number one student in the class this morning, Barlett from Linden, the man come down from the hills on his birthday. Today is his birthday. But that did not prevent him from coming down from the hills to be in the class. Maybe, who knows, maybe he come down from the hills to get away from the boys because you want to buy drink, you want to put up no sport. Maybe, I'm not saying it is so, but maybe. So Barlett is in class, and today is Barlett's birth anniversary. Another Linden man that I know celebrating an anniversary today, Noel Perry. The people like some of the old athletes here will remember Perry. Perry used to represent police and the giant services. He was a field shot put and discus throw, big strapping Noel. Noel is observing his 70th birthday today. 70th birthday today to Noel. And then we have some people that I want to mention, and I'm not sure they are students, but today is Dr. David Hines, Politics 101. Today is his natal day. Also, Christopher Jones, former MP and former chief whip of the opposition, is observing a natal day today. And the final one for today that I am going to announce is another former politician. I say former because I don't think he's active now, Keith Scott. And the reason why I remember Keith Scott is because he taught me in primary school, BV Primary School. Keith, many, many years ago, used to teach at BV Primary School. He's observing a natal day today. And in terms of those who are going to be observing in the near future, retired Inspector Lyndon Wilson, the coach. I think is this tomorrow. Coach birthday, 13768, I think was his number, Lyndon Wilson. And then he played cricket too. He played cricket. He was all rounder. And then a former member of the Special Constabulary and a former member of the Ghana Youth Corps, Winston Yearwood. Now I think he is a lay pastor and so on. He is going to be observing shortly too. And a former member, I think she used to be in the traffic, West Demerara, Alison Daniels. She's going to be observing shortly too. So to all those who are observing today, who observed recently, and who are going to observe in the near future, happy birthday. The announcements were long, but you just got to make the announcements. So we bring in CC to give his opening, and then we're going to move on. Got a lot of deaths and announcements to make this morning. Go ahead.
Yeah, happy to be in the land of the living to do God's work. Congratulations to all those persons who celebrated their birthday today, in the future, and recently Also, my sympathy to the members of the bereaved families. And Smithy, David Smith, understand, Paul, there the post-mortem examinations of both his wife and his sister-in-law. Understand all arrangements went well. The police excelled. Everything was in place as distinct from what did not happen on Monday. And well, I don't know if remember we said on Monday that they had to pay JP $5,000 just to sign the document. Let Dr. Singh perform the post-mortem examination to ascertain the cause of death. So I know they had to pay any money today, but things went well. Hats off to the police for ensuring that they had a post-mortem. Understand the two sisters lay side by side in the mortuary and they had a post-mortem.
Yeah, well, eventually things went well. But that one of the issues that I would like to raise is that things went well today. But I hope that the people, the commander and this, will look to see what went wrong on the last occasion, on Monday, and make sure that those forces who may have neglected their duty are dealt with. It brings the force into disrepute, right? Something like that. People grieving, man. No, people grieving. Post-mortem examinations to be done. Make sure it's a simple process as far as I can remember. You get the coroner's order prepared, get the JP to sign, and the rank who is the death report rank or any rank is there at the mortuary to present the coroner's order to the doctor. Simple as that. Simple as that. So should not, yes, it went well today, and as Cici said, I'm glad that they got around to doing it correctly, but you should not leave it at that. The ranks who messed up on Monday should be dealt with. They should be dealt with. That is the only way you can get improvement in the system. People must not be allowed to get away with these things. Right? Now, let me move on. This afternoon at 5 o'clock, I understand the president is going to make an announcement. Well, he's addressing the nation. The president making an address to the nation this afternoon at 5 o'clock at the Ortachunk Convention Center. Well, people speculating as to what the announcement will be about. But the invitation that was sent out say that he's supposed to be telling us about the plans for the development of the country during the next 5 years, right? 5 years. But people squeezing. They're squeezing. They're hoping that he can tell you something about the cash grant. Hope when he tell you about the cash grant, he can tell you that it ain't gonna happen, right? Because he could be telling you something about the cash grant, but it's not something that you would want to hear. So let me hear what's going to happen there, right? And let me tell you something, buddy. There's a stark arts other thing. An invitation is sent. I saw a copy of the invitation, inviting people, RSVP and so on. They got to be seated. Well, they tell you what time it is, and the dress is business casual and all that. Do you know that I have seen a message that circulated in the police force? All police officers are required to be there at the Ortachunk Convention Center this afternoon, dressed in uniform. So they get order. All police officers have been ordered to be at the Ortachunk Convention Center this afternoon, dressed in uniform to listen to the president. And I say this, right? That even that was talk about Barnum being a dictator, even in the days of Forbes Barnum, Lyndon Forbes, Thompson Barnum, you never used to have that. Even in the days of Lyndon Forbes, Thompson Barnum, when he was addressed, and there were many, you did not have police officers being detailed, as we would say, to go and sit and listen to what the president has to say. And I have a strong suspicion that if police officers, when I say officers, we're talking about gazetted officers, people from cadet officer, maybe right up to deputy commissioner. And of course, the squatter gonna be there, I'm sure. You never had that. And I'm sure the fact that police officers have been instructed to go sit and listen to what the president has to say, I'm sure that the members of the other uniformed services, the GDF, the prison and the fire, they too would have been instructed to make sure that they are there. They too would have been instructed to go sit and listen. And then look, chances are all them recruit and everything. Now, carry them there, make the crowd big, build, rent a crowd, man. All them recruits and all them people going full of their mobilization to hear what the president has to say. They call the Artachon Convention Center. It's going to be full. It's going to be full. And people want to hear, the Joint Services members who are there, want to hear about the 1.5 bonus. Will that announcement be made this afternoon? Right? We hope so. We hope so. But my crystal ball is telling me that no cash grant, universal cash grant is going to be announced. Universal meaning all Guyanese 18 and above. Happen. Because let me understand, we are 1 week away from Christmas. And this government and the system is not so efficient that if this announcement were to be made today, you can get it, you get Thursday, Friday, or Saturday is not a working day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 4 days or 5 working days. It ain't going to happen before Christmas. If it happens at all, it's not going to happen before Christmas. I suspect, however, he might decide to look at old people, pensioners like me, and decide that pension must get a little something for the holidays. So he might very well make an announcement, he giving something to the pensioners, right? Pensioners. They call me geriatric and they call me all sort of thing. So maybe you can take a little shame out the face and say, well, we ain't gonna give everybody. We can take you can give them old people something. But let me see what's gonna happen 5 o'clock this afternoon. Let's sit down and listen. And people have said, I saw the post on social media where people on social media saying that they're gonna have the biggest listening audience this afternoon. The president is going to, in Guyana, president of Guyana, is going to have the largest listening audience this afternoon. Everybody want about the cash grant. They want to hear nothing more. So they're going to come and ask other salawala and all sort of thing. People don't want to hear that. People want to hear about cash grant. That is what they want to hear. So because of that, you're going to get a large listening audience this afternoon. You're going to listen because they want to hear about the cash grant. But remember, I have been saying to you repeatedly, live within your means. Don't hang your hat where your hand can reach. And remember, you get your Christmas tree. They're still on sale. Christmas tree. Your no cash grant Christmas tree. You get it. Your no cash grant Christmas tree. Let me bring in CC for here. If CC let me bring in CC for here. If he going to listen to the president, or if he's gonna tune in to hear if he's gonna get cash grant, or if he's gonna be tuning to be disappointed. CC, what will you do, my brother?
Well, I don't expect any financial thing, unless as a pension. But I won't be surprised to hear that things will be done incrementally, or that they have 5 years to do things. And then I'm wondering whether the conform squatto is within the president's 5-year plan. I wonder if the conform squatto is in the president's 5 years plan. I wonder if you're going to announce anything there.
Well, let me say this government lawless, this government is a lawless government, but according to the same law they say that they use to have the squatter remain there, that same law, as far as I say, I can't remember, it said you can't go past 60. Cannot go past 60 years. So I my calculation, by my counting, by my reckoning, my sums say that long before the 5 year, you can reach 60. Again, you can reach 60 for the first time and the second time within that time frame. So let's see what will happen there. Let's see what is going to happen. Now, let me. I've been telling you guys over and over to pay attention what's going on in the Caribbean. I'm referring here to the situation with Venezuela and the U.S. and so on. Now, for those of you who have not been following it, the President of the United States, I think yesterday it was, issued order, the blockading of Venezuela, military blockade. So he said that dealing with sanctioned vessels, right? Remember sometime last week it was that they actually seized the oil tanker. And So things are eating up in that area there around Venezuela. And we ought to be mindful, we Guyanese ought to be mindful, because I continue to say, if there's any type of military action in Venezuela, you can very well expect people to rush, more people gonna come to Ghana. So I don't know how the government is planning to deal with that. But then if you noted too, only I think yesterday it was, that the Trinidad Prime Minister has indicated that Trinidad will allow American warplanes to use the runways in Trinidad. So things are picking up. Things are picking up. I think yesterday too, they issued this no-fly arrangement over, the U.S. issued that over Venezuelan airspace. So let's watch to see what is going to happen. Let's watch to see what is going to happen. You got to be careful because, you know, we are so close, border. Even without the military action and so on, you're getting hundreds and perhaps thousands of Venezuelans running into Guyana. Come call them economic migrants. And the other things. We saw that even with the terrorist bombing at the gas station in Regent Street, Venezuelans were involved. They said the Venezuelan was the mastermind. So we have to pay attention to what is going on. We have to pay attention to what is going on in the area, because we as Guyanese are likely to suffer if anything like that happens. If not directly, indirectly, we are going to suffer. Remember, Maduro did say that any attack on Venezuela by the U.S. is going to target Trinidad and he's going to target Guyana. That is what he had said. And if you noted, recently we have a lot of high-level visits to Guyana, military visits, and these people making Shining Pact and all sort of things. So we should be concerned. We should be concerned. At least pay attention to what is going on. I'm talking about Venezuela, and let me bring in Mr. Conway, then I'm going to move on to the next subject, which is related. I alluded to the Venezuelan and the terrorist attack on the gas station. I'm going to deal with that when CC makes his comment. CC, go ahead.
Yeah, as long they attack Venezuela, and as long they attack by land, watch out for illegal migrants flooding Guyana in droves. In droves, they will be flooding Guyana. Remember, we have 270 miles of waterway, you know. 270 miles of waterway that we have, that we have, and they're gonna come, in thousands and thousands and thousands, and we're gonna accept them with open arms. We in party with the International Organization of Migration, IOM, we say we gotta treat them as migrants. And we have no real security to deal with them. I don't know what intelligence is doing. I don't know what diplomacy is doing. But I'm sure we can get an exodus. There will be an exodus of illegal migrants in Guyana. They have the waterway, plus they have the by the Essequibo, the Cayuni, the Mazroni, the Potaro, and even through the Rupununi River. They will be here as long there is attack on land in Venezuela. So we have to be prepared for that. I hope that we are prepared for that.
Yeah, I hope we are prepared. Yeah, I hope we are prepared because, you know, again, we have to put things in context. You know, Guyana has a population, let me say 800,000. If a couple thousand Venezuelans decide to come in, they get the figures that are there, the figures that we have now, it's not, figures are not known. Some people say it ranges between 30 to 70, some people say 100,000 and so on. And that is in relatively normal times. So if there's to be any military conflict there and the people decide to come in, couple 100,000 come in, you could imagine what's going to happen. You got to imagine what's going to happen in terms of where they're going to be, what the demands they're going to be making on our system, health system, school system, transportation. We got to understand. And then, as I have said repeatedly on this program, when good come, bad one coming to us. We saw there with the bombing at the gas station. We can anticipate that, because I maintain that with the number of Venezuelans born in to Guyana over the years, many are Venezuelan military assets, right? Soldiers and people loyal to the government. I am saying that they're coming there, they don't do the wrecking. They know all your key points, all your vulnerable points, and only know where they are, but get the coordinates and all of them type of things. So it's serious business we're talking about. It's serious business that we're talking about. And I don't know, they haven't given me the confidence that they are on top of this thing and to sit down and plan just in case in the eventuality. I don't know that they have meetings at the senior levels, national security levels, and all that to discuss these things and to plan in case this happen, what happen. They're depending on America, fine. For military assistance, good. But what happened to the humanitarian and other things that are likely to occur? You're not going to sit down and plan. You're going to wait till you hear Venezuela and Russian pull up the whole region 1, region 2, and then you're going to be reacting. That's what you're going to do? Yeah, but because, and we need, and again, in terms of the secrecy, the Guyanese public need to be assured that this matter is being addressed and that systems are in place to deal with any such eventuality. We need to be reassured about that. But don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath. And then talking about the Venezuelan bombing and so on, and I don't have to rehash that because by now all of us know what took place there in October with the bombing at the gas station at Regent and King Street, the Exxon, the mobile gas station, which resulted in the death of that child, right? Well, we know several persons were charged with terrorism. They are charged with terrorism, and last week, I think, or before the last, we were told that forensic evidence gathered from the scene was sent to India to be analyzed. And we commented on it because we say that if you're dealing with evidence, there's something critical called chain of custody. So if you're going to send this evidence to India, how is it sent? Is it escorted by someone, which should be the safe thing? We asked all of those questions. And of course, we didn't get no response from them. Not that we expect, but we are alerting them and alerting the public. I was taken back yesterday, therefore, when I read Regent Street gas station bombing, paper committal set for December, paper committal set. This is an article, December the 16th. It says Regent Street gas station bombing, paper committal set. Let me read the first 3 paragraphs of this post. Full disclosure of evidence was made by the prosecution on Tuesday in the case involving the 4 of the 7 individuals charged in connection with the deadly bombing of a Regent Street of a Georgetown gas station in October. This move clears the way for the case to proceed to a paper committal, a process where a magistrate reviews written evidence to determine if there's sufficient basis to send the accused to trial in the High Court. At the hearing before Chief Magistrate at the Georgetown Magistrate Court, Prosecutor Mandel Moore confirmed that all statements and forensic evidence, including test results from overseas, had been submitted. The disclosure includes forensic analysis result that had been pending from India, where two key items recovered from the crime scene were sent for examination. Considering the new disclosure, the prosecution applied for the case to be heard via paper committal. The defense counsel representing one of the accused requested additional time to review the newly provided evidence. The court granted his request, and the matter was adjourned to the 30th of December for further proceedings. Now let me break it down to you. Let me break it down. I was surprised because they had said that they sent this forensic evidence to India to be analyzed. So when I heard a full disclosure, I was wondering if the analysis was completed and returned, but they were what the police prosecutor is saying. Yes, in lab time they were able to send this evidence to India, had it analyzed, and it is returned, and they say presentation. The forensic analyst result had been pending in India, where two key items recovered from the crime scene were sent for examination. And the prosecutor is saying that examination has been done. They get whatever certificate they have, so they made disclosure of that as well. Now, you might want to, you might wonder, what is paper committal? What is a paper committal? Now, let me tell you what is the normal process. Normal process in a matter like this, or any indictable matter. I think we had gone through this, but I'm going to go through it again for the benefit of all students. Now, when a person is charged in Guyana indictably, that's under the Criminal Law Offences Act, Chapter 8-1. If it's an indictable charge, a magistrate cannot try that matter. What happens is that when the person appears in court, the charge is read by the magistrate. The magistrate will tell the accused person that the matter is indictable and they are not required to plead. That's an indictable charge, right? Indictable. Now, if the matter continues as an indictable charge, the magistrate again can't try. The magistrate conducts a preliminary inquiry, an inquiry to determine if there's sufficient evidence, if there's prima facie evidence to have this matter thrown up to the High Court, right? That is, if it continues as a indictable matter. There are some matters, they call them hybrid matters, where you might make a charge indictable, and then they might apply for it to be disposed of summarily. That is the magistrate. Now, once that process has been granted, that if an application is made for a summary disposal and the magistrate agrees, then the charge is reread to the now defendant, and they are asked to enter into a plea. Remember, if it's indictable, magistrate can't take a plea, right? The magistrate will tell you that the charge is indictable, are you not required to plea. Now, if an application is made for summary disposal and the magistrate agrees that the matter should be disposed of summarily, meaning that the matter can be ending at the magistrate court, once an agreement has been reached, then the magistrate will have to reread the charge to the defendant, and then the defendant will be made to plea. And the magistrate will then determine the guilt or innocence as the case will be. So I hope you understand the background. Now, what happened in last year? Sometime last year, the government went to Parliament and they made an amendment, National Assembly, and it says here, this is in July of last year, National Assembly passes bill to abolish preliminary inquiries. That is what this headline in this article, I think this was a newsroom article. To abolish. First of all, I'm not sure that the preliminary inquiries are abolished. I think there's still preliminary inquiries, but in some cases, you can apply for a paper committal as they did in this terrorism case, right? And the bill, and this is Nandalal piloted this bill through Parliament in sometime around June, July last year, and the bill was passed. And I suspect that once the bill passed, the president will sign it into law, right? And they said the bill provides, and let me understand this thing clearly. Some of the arguments they make in terms of having this paper committal, you can't fault it because it speeds up the process. Because now when you have a paper committal, what happens is that rather than having this preliminary inquiry where all the witnesses have to go, give the evidence in chief, be subjected to cross-examination and re-examination, and that can drag out. That can drag out. What happens now, you do away with that part. The witnesses now don't have to go to the magistrate court and to give evidence and to be cross-examined and all that. The statements and all the evidence in the case is submitted. The statements and all the other evidence, those things are submitted to the magistrate. In other words, it's a written it's a written record, and the arguments is done in writing rather than orally in the court. And once you go through, the defense get the opportunity to respond and all of that. So rather than calling witnesses, you submit all the statements and the evidence and so on, and then the magistrate goes through them, listen to all the arguments, the written arguments, read the written arguments, and makes a decision whether the person is going to be committed to stand trial in the High Court. And once that decision is made, then it is transmitted to the Director of Public Prosecutions, and the Director of Public Prosecution will then indict the person. So you cut out, and you cut out a whole set of a process there now, which has resulted over the years in a lot of delay. Because you have a preliminary inquiry goes on for long. And then at the end of the preliminary inquiry, if the magistrate finds a prima facie case has been made out, it goes to the High Court. But now that long preliminary inquiry process has been, well, not totally eliminated, despite what they're saying, because I can recall they still have preliminary inquiries in some cases, right? But you can't fault the fact that they're trying to speed up the process, because Nandalal made the point, involves the preliminary inquiry, the paper committal involves reviewing evidence and arguments presented by both the prosecution and defense in written form. So the evidence presented in written form rather than conducting an oral in-person hearing. And then they said, delving into the tremendous impact that the bill's enactment would have, Nandalal highlighted that currently oral inquiries take a minimum of 3 to 4 years to be completed. I don't agree with that. You don't always take that long, not a minimum to 3 to 4 years, right? So the paper committal process saves times and resources by eliminating the need for witnesses' testimony and cross-examination during the preliminary inquiry stages. That is what I just explained to you. So this is a good thing, I would think. It's a good thing to do away with this long preliminary inquiry. But then the question is always going to be asked when you're dealing with in a society where people believe that everything, corruption is rampant. Who makes the determination as to which matters are going to have a paper committal and which matters have to go through this long, usual preliminary inquiry? Who? Because, as I've said, despite the fact that this article is telling us that National Assembly passes bill to abolish preliminary inquiries, this is since June or July last year, I am sure that they still have preliminary inquiries going on. I am sure that preliminary inquiries are still going on. So it has not been abolished. So even if that was the intention of the bill, it can abolish. Some matters are still going through preliminary inquiries. That is as far as I know. So the question is going to be, who makes the determination as to which matters will continue to have a preliminary inquiry and which matters are going to have paper committal? Valid question. Valid. Let me bring in CC for him to have his say on that. CC, they account to them, account to them this terrorism charge now. Mandel Moore applied paper committal, and they might proceed along that path. What are your views?
Well, in the case of the statement of Mandel Moore, I listened to the language, and I'm a bit wobbly because it's saying the forensic evidence was sent and they receive it back. We talk all about the thing being escorted, somebody carried the chain of custody. So you gotta look at the chain of custody. And like the word they using, it was sent. It doesn't sound too right there, or it could be correct, but then it would end up in worries, the chain of custody. And if this is a critical piece of evidence, a critical piece of forensic evidence, watch out. We're in for some worries. But let me just explain the procedure, that where they do the preliminary trial, not the paper committal. Once I talked about it before, but I think it's important. Some you might have some new listeners, some new viewers, that when somebody is charged for the offense, the magistrate would say, well, Paul, you explain about matters being tried in indictable. But when the person is charged and they pleaded not guilty, it is the onus of the prosecution to bring his witnesses, all his exhibits to prove his case. So the witness would have to come, go in the witness box, and be subject to what we call cross-examination by the opposite party. And the real object of cross-examination is to destroy the story, destroy this, what is being told, and to obtain evidence that is favorable to the defense. So the witness comes and they go through evidence, they give the evidence in chief, they go through cross-examination by the opposite party, and then they may need for a re-examination where the certain matters that arose out of cross-examination, the prosecution might want to clear it up. As they go through the evidence, the witnesses go through the evidence, tender what they got to tender, the prosecution would say, that is my case. And then the defense will make no case submission. There's no case for my client to answer because of X or Y. For example, we always talk about larceny, the ingredients in bed, intent, nighttime, breakage, entry, dwelling house. The defense might say, there's no evidence for my client to, there's no thing for my client to be convicted or to, because for client to answer because of A is a case of burglary, there's nothing established that it was the offense was committed in a dwelling house. And if it ain't a dwelling house, it is not burglary. Or in the case of, let's say, rape, they might say there's no case for my client to answer because there was no evidence of penetration. Because in the case of rape, they have to get penetration either by the male organ into the female, or female to female, or you use some part of your body, or you use your finger, or you use some instrument, or you use um, that man's special, you use a dildo or something, that there must be penetration. If there's no penetration, well, then there's no case for the person to answer. And after he's making the case submission, remember, Nandela, when he was charged for larceny for thieving law books, his defense is his team made up no case submission, that there's no case for him to answer. And then the prosecution reply, and the magistrate said, yes, there's a case for the person to answer. Now, after no case submission, if the magistrate agrees with the no case submission, the case finish right there. If the magistrate disagrees, we call for a defense and will tell the prosecution, look, you have options. You could stand there and remain silent. You can give evidence without oath, where nobody could ask you any question. You could give evidence for oath where we ask question, and you can call your witnesses to testify. And if you're going to call your witnesses to testify, and you're going to give evidence, you give evidence first and followed by your witnesses. And at the end of the no case submission, the prosecution will reply, and the magistrate will decide one way or the other. And after that, if the magistrate says, yes, there is a case, there's a case for that, a case for you to answer, you may ask him, do you wish to address me? Where they give evidence, where they call witnesses, do you wish to address? He adjusts the magistrate and say, hey, why the case must go down the drain. On the opposite side, the prosecution will respond, and the magistrate will decide one way or the other on this one. But then in paper committal, you don't have that, where they will have the statements of the witnesses all in writing. There's no oral evidence there. And the prosecution will present that, and the defense will have an opportunity to reply. And everything is in writing. Is in writing. And And at the end of the day, the magistrate will decide one way or the other. And we have that regularly in the Sexual Offences Act, Chapter 2010. The Sexual Offences Act talk about people committed for rape and other sexual offences. When I was saying that the prosecution can, in these people committal, the prosecution can make a application to cross-examine witness. So always a paper trial, they can give me the opportunity to cross-examine witnesses. So it's a whole big drawn out thing there. As you mentioned in the Sexual Offences Act, you can do what you call they do paper committal, not necessary for the witnesses to come and give oral evidence, and also the public will be excluded from that proceedings. Whilst on the other hand, if you're going to do the people committal, it's just the statements of the witnesses, the exhibits and other things that you have there, and by the prosecution, the defense will reply and the magistrate will decide one way or the other. If the magistrate decides, hey, I don't have enough evidence here for a paper committal, the magistrate would have to send the report with the statements and everything to the DPP for the DPP to review. And the DPP can say, they must say, hey, reopen this case, you may open this case here and proceed with the matter. So the paper committal will prevent a whole big long drawn out procedure where the witnesses got to go to court and I'm subject to cross-examination and re-examination and all sort of things. It is an opportunity to, as you mentioned, Paul, to speed up the criminal proceedings. So in this case, with the bombing of the gas station, let's see what will happen. But see, I'm a little wobbly when I hear that forensic evidence sent and forensic evidence returned. I don't like to hear that it was escorted to his body, examined by somebody, the person uplifted it, brought it back, and then at the trial you're going to hear that the person who examined it testify in court.
Yeah, thanks for that explanation, my brother. Let me go to another issue quickly. Someone messaged me this morning, and I think there was a debate as to who can stop someone on the road, talking about driver. And the man is telling me that some people are arguing that only a traffic crank can stop a driver on the road. That is what somebody messaged me. So let me clarify that. We mentioned it before. Clarify. Any police in uniform can stop a driver on the road. Any police in uniform can stop a driver on the road. I suspect that this confusion might have come about when the current commissioner, the squatter, made a certain statement. Let me play the statement he made, which confused and maybe showing that into the minds of people, only traffic rank can stop you. Let me play the statement. It's a short statement. And then at the other side, we'll continue to examine this belief.
The body camera gives transparency between the police and the public whenever they speak. And so, my instructions are very clear. Persons must not stop if the rank does not have a body camera. If there is a roadblock supervised by officers and the rest of it, where we expect everybody to stop to comply. But one police or two policemen, traffic, of course, without body camera, they're not supposed to be stopping anybody. Their duty is to control the speed to ensure that we have less fatality. And so, yes, they're benefiting from it, but it's going to impact on them within the near future.
Well, I suspect that is part of the confusion. What the commissioner just said there can be described as a scandalabont, right? Any policeman, and the commission, let me understand this thing clearly. Once a person joins the force and they swear and become a member of the Guyana Police Force, they have the powers of arrest. And the commissioner cannot restrict your powers of arrest. No government can restrict your powers of arrest once you continue to serve as a member of the force. If you violate that power, then they can take action against you, including the ultimate action, which is to dismiss you from the force. But the commissioner does not have the authority to tell any rank that, look, you can't stop people on the road, or you must not, if you ain't get on body camera, you can't. That's rubbish. That is rubbish. And maybe that's part of the confusion, right? Any policeman in uniform can stop you. The law allows, if he has reasonable suspicion, no willingly stop. If you have reasonable suspicion, then you can stop you. But the commissioner, imagine the commissioner of police can come and spew such nonsenseness to tell you, officers, and if they get the road blocked and all, you must wear body camera. That ain't got nothing to do with your powers of arrest. Those are administrative arrangements. Your powers of arrest are anytime you swear. You pick up the Bible, the Quran, the Gita, or whatever, you swear, or whether you're firm. Once you do that, you have the powers of arrest under the Police Act, Chapter 1601. And no commissioner of police can come and tell you, sir, you can't exercise your power of arrest. Does not have that authority. If you exercise it incorrectly, you can be disciplined. You can be even charged criminally and put before the court, depending on the nature of the abuse and so on. If the commissioner wants you to not to long have the power, they got to either interdict you or to dismiss you from the force. That is what got to happen. So maybe that is what is causing the confusion. Let me say again, I hope this, I know the person is on and listening, that any policeman in uniform, right, can stop you, can give directions and all that in terms of traffic. Any policeman, whether he has on a body camera or not. If it's an administrative policy for ranks to wear body camera and the rank fails to wear the body camera, well, then there's something else. That doesn't deprive him of his authority to stop, search, and detain under certain circumstances. The law imbues him with that power. And again, I say before I bring in CC, no commissioner of police can take that power away as this commissioner is attempting to do. You see, there is a problem, but the way they're going about trying to deal with the problem is incorrect. It is incorrect. And I remember this thing started way back. Well, at least I remember an incident or statements made by Silal Prasad and Clement Roy when Silal was the commissioner and Roy was the Minister of Affairs, that ranks and motorcycle must stop vehicle. You can't prevent the people from doing it. You cannot. Right? They get the power. The law takes precedent over any order issued by the commissioner like that. Let me understand this thing clearly. You say once you have reasonable suspicion. If the persons, again, I say, if they exercise the authority arbitrarily or unlawfully, well, then you can deal with them. But you can't seek to curtail the powers of the rank. You don't have that authority. I hope somebody tell you, I hope you're listening and understand that. Let me bring in CC to address. I thought it was important because a person messaged me this morning and asking me about it. So let me give it for general information. I'm sure that the person will be hearing it then, later on I'm going to listen and hear what you say. CC, your take on that.
Well, I like to run to the law. I like to run to the Police Act. And Section 18 of the Police Act, Chapter 16:01 says, power to stop, search, or detain any aircraft, vessel, vehicle, or persons in certain circumstances. Let me read it. Section 18. Any member of the force may stop, search, and detain any aircraft, vessel, or vehicle in upon which there shall be reason to suspect that anything stolen or unlawfully obtained, or that any person suspected of having committed any indictable offense may be found, or he may also stop, search, and detain any person who may be reasonably suspected of having or conveying in any manner anything stolen or unlawfully obtained. And let me go with this roadblock story. And it's not roadblock, it's road barriers that they love to talk about. Section 26.1. Notwithstanding any other act, any officer, inspector or subordinate officer, they qualify it, any officer, inspector or subordinate officer may, if he considered necessary to do so, for the maintenance and preservation of law and order, or for the prevention or detection of crime, erect or place or cause to be erected or placed barriers in or across any road or street or in any public place within Guyana in such a manner as he may think fit. And the whole thing is about what we call reasonable suspicion. Paul, you know more than I do Justice Ramlal's ruling, where he talked that you must have reasonable suspicion, and the suspicion must precede the search also. So the thing is that the police got the power to stop, search, and detain. They got the power, sovereign officer, constable, not sovereign officer, inspector, or officer can authorize to set up roadblocks. And in Justice Ramlal case, he talked about reasonable suspicion, and the suspicion must precede the search.
Yeah, and somebody is asking a question about policemen in plain clothes. Now that is all policemen, whether in plain clothes or not, right, have the same power. They have the power to stop, search, and detain. The issue is that if this person is in plain clothes with no clear identifying something to identify them as a police, how do you know it's a police? Now, if it is, you might see in some places, FBI and they get plain clothes, but they have something that identifies them as a police. But if a man just come in his short pants or in his long pants with some short jack, he ain't got nothing to identify him as a police, and he raised his hand to say, stop you. Why must you stop? How do you know it's a police? So that is the issue. Now, if the person has on a uniform, it's a different thing. The person get on police uniform, well, then you know it's police. Well, now that you know it's police, then there is every reason to believe that it is a police rank. But a person comes and plain clothes, nothing to identify that there's police. Why are you stopping? You just come out, especially if the person is alone. You still got to look at the circumstances. Let's assume then that, look, you have an operation, several ranks in uniform, clearly identified as police ranks in uniform. They might have a few in plain clothes. Then it's a different set of circumstances, something totally different, right? Right. So that. But even, well, Bantu saying you ask to show identification, you're not even supposed to stop if a man just in plain clothes telling you to stop. You're not even supposed to stop, but says to ask him to show identification. He has to be identified properly before you are required to stop. Let me understand this thing clearly. People must know their rights, and policemen must know how to approach these situations so you don't run into conflict. You can't stand up in the road, come out in plain clothes and flagging on a vehicle to tell the person to stop. You have to have something to identify you clearly as a police, either your uniform or something else if you have civilian clothes. As I've said again, the circumstances, let me assume or let me imagine it's an operation. So it's not only the one man in plain clothes, there are others there in uniform and likewise. So it's a different thing altogether. It's a different thing altogether. But I would say to the police that if you have an operation and you have plain clothes people, maybe detectives and uniform people, the uniform people got to exercise to stop. Is they got to come and stop the persons, not the plain clothes person. See, these are things that you got to train the people them to do. You got to train the people them to do. Right? So let me understand this thing clearly. Let me understand this thing clearly. Now, let me go on to the next subject. We have a lot to talk about this morning. We'd almost passed our 150 minutes. So let me move on. Now, during the, Christmas time, all the activities, Christmas get, especially at our police activities, you get software, they get award ceremony, commanders speaking, presentations are made to the policemen who did well and all that fine. There is the commissioner had its award ceremony some time ago, about a week ago, and he spoke about what you call clear up rate. They're boasting that they have a 65% clear up rate. And here, let me tell you all this. And by now, the regular students will recognize. This is not about beating up alone. This is about telling them that when you issue these statements, you must put context into it. Don't just come and talk, because that is what they do. They come and they talk, and if you analyze it, it doesn't make much sense, right? So the commissioner boasting about 60-something% clear up rate. Now let me address that. What is a clear up rate? A crime is committed, and someone is arrested, and therefore you say that crime has been cleared up. That crime has been cleared up. For example, a recent case, the Quindon Bacchus murder, policeman charged, and therefore you cleared it up because you arrest and you charge people. Perhaps it's not the best example, but clear up. But clear up rate does not speak to the whole issue as it should, because you can arrest the usual suspect and close the record that you cleared up. What happens with your conviction rate? What happens with your conviction rate? That is a better metric to test how well you're doing. Not only clear up rate, because you arrest somebody and you charge them and the matter closed as far as you're concerned. And we would have seen in the media recently a lot of cases dismissed, no case submission, people walking free. Many, many cases, no case, but the police record will reflect that that matter was cleared up because someone was charged. So I'm saying to Ikin and all of them, don't just tell people about clear up rate. I mean, you're doing this to try to look good. But when the thing is properly analyzed, people recognize it's a lot of BS. So you get, let's say, a random figure, right? Hypothetically, 1,000 crimes reported, right? You arrest 600 people in relation to the 1,000 crimes, right? So 60% clear up rate. That is what clear up rate is. You go to court and 800 of the cases, you can't get conviction, right? So it's 80% gone down the drain. And that is how. So don't use the one, well, they will continue to use it. But I'm saying that when you analyze these things, when we analyze these things, we see through the subterfuge, we see through all the BS. Don't just come and tell us about clear up rate. The next thing they talk about, because all the commanders are, well, most of the commanders are singing about reduction in crime, serious crime, right? We have explained it repeatedly. When you talk about serious crimes, the unfortunate thing is that they might be accurate in terms of the percentage reduction they talk about, because it is limited to a small set of crimes that they analyze and call serious crimes. 11 crimes, I think it is. And of the 11, about 6 or 7 are different categories of robberies, right? That is what they analyze as serious crime. So, for example, in recent times, you have a whole set of people charged with terrorism, right? That is not going to be recorded as a serious crime because they don't record terrorism as serious crime. Let me come back to the gas station bombing. Based on what I've read, the people are charged with terrorism, right? Not murder. They are charged with terrorism. No doubt during the course of the trial, it's going to be revealed that as a result of this terrorist act, a child died, but they're not charged with murder. So that act is not likely to be captured in the statistics at the end of the whichever period, because it's terrorism, and terrorism is not listed as a category of serious crime. They talk about Nandaland and all, they talk about gold smuggling. They're looking down Mohammed say smuggling gold, and so many other people smuggling gold. I'm telling you, gold smuggling is not recorded as a serious crime. They don't record that as a serious crime. And there's so many other crimes that one would normally consider very serious, but in their reporting, those things are not reported as serious crimes. So they are clouding the whole thing to look good. But at the end of the day, as we have said before, is that only way come and tell people what you want about all the crimes that you reduce. The other day, the crew one man walking down Middle Road, La Penitence or somewhere there, somebody rode up, they stab you, they kill you. Tell the family that crime reduced. Tell that family that serious crime is on the decline. Tell them that. House invasion. We read the other people invade house, rob people of their money and that. You tell them that serious crimes are on the decline. So many times it's not about that, it's about the feeling. People don't feel safe. And by your own posture, people have said to me in recent times, going to Guyana and walking around, they have never seen so many people with guns. Talk about security, almost every place you go, some man with some big shotgun, some big assault rifle. It is worrying. People say even there in the States and all those places, like if in a war zone, every place you go, security guards stand up, big shotgun. Security guards stand up, assault rifle, and you telling people that crimes are done? Are you trying to encourage tourists and all that? People seeing these things, and therefore when you see these things, you can. Why would you have men outside a store with shotgun and assault rifle if things are so good? Why would you have that if things are so good? So people see these things and you form your impression as to what is going on. So don't come and tell us about well, you're going to continue to tell us, but put some more context in the thing. And I believe, and I hope that the new Minister of Home Affairs will look into this. It is high time that when you're going to talk about the classification of serious crimes, that you include some other crimes that are very, very, very serious. You include them. For example, you charge, as I say, all of you terrorism, include that. Gold smuggling is a big thing, include that as a serious crime. Right? Include it. Because indeed, those things are very, very serious. Let me bring in CC for him to obviously say on this, and then we're going to move to another subject. CC, this reduction and the clear-up rate, and so what are your views, my brother?
Bluffing, giving the wrong impression, and even drug smuggling. How much 4 tons of cocaine and anything? That is not a serious crime. That is not a serious crime. Trafficking in ports and anything, though, not serious crime. What they're doing, there is a compilation of figures, and it doesn't say whether or not the police force was efficient and effective in the execution of the duty. It doesn't measure that. You know, I reading from a book here, Management and Supervision in Law Enforcement by Wayne W. Bennett and Karen M.S. And here's what it says. Low crime rate does not necessarily mean the police agency is efficient and effective. A high arrest rate does not necessarily show that the police are doing a good job. A high ratio of police officers to citizens does not necessarily mean high quality police service. Responding quickly to calls for service does not necessarily indicate that a police agency is efficient. They do not measure whether the activities were completed efficiently and effectively, and they don't describe what impact the activities had on the community. And here's what it's saying. Rather than looking at crime rates, number of arrests and response time, evaluation to assess whether or not the agency is effective in fulfilling its responsibility to the community. And go back to the Police Act, Here is the responsibility of the police. Here is what the police set out to do. The force shall be employed for the prevention and detection of crime, the preservation of law and order, the preservation of the peace, the repression of internal disturbances, the protection of property, the apprehension of offenders, and due enforcement of all laws and regulation with which it is directly charged, and shall perform military duties within Guyana as may be required of it by or under the authority of the minister. So here's where this is where you gotta look at section 3.2, talking about your responsibility. Nothing like duck curry competition or cook-up competition or flavor the desk, flavor the thing, or storing pot for the president, or bowling ball for the president, school runs and school bowling long up and foot toss and all kind of thing there. What is required of law, what you are required to do, and also your mission statement. Well, again, mission statement, you could call a mission statement because it is not smart. A mission statement has got to be specific. It's got to be measurable. It's got to be achievable. It got to be realistic. It's got to be timely or task oriented. It got to be smart. Another day, I will go deeply into the so-called mission statement. If you want to know how well you do in the police, do citizen survey. I get people who with master's degrees and academic degrees are some bogus. Let them go into the communities and do surveys, do proper surveys. That will tell you how well you are doing. You might be able to measure whether you're doing it. But saying you for you to know what you're doing, you gotta go back to the law, what the law say that you must do. So bringing figures and that, it's just a compilation of figures, and it doesn't say whether you're efficient and effective. And clear up case, as you mentioned, Paul, that because you charge somebody, you clear up. Clear up is when they go to court, and when they go to the end, and when the magistrate decide one way or just one way, that is clear up. But we got so much cases in the police force that finishing at no case submission. You're finishing at no case submission, so you charge and lot for thief in law books, and then the case and the case and finish. That the DPP say, hey, withdraw. So you say you are to clear up. The thing is that clear up is different from just now you charge somebody, full stop, you charge for murder and say clear. There's not clear up. That is bluffing. And don't mind what you say, don't mind what figures you come. When the Guyanese society are living in perpetual fear of crime, you got to address the fear of crime. And as Paul, you mentioned, you go by them Chinese supermarket, people with AK-47 and all kind of thing working there. Look at them security service all about the place. Big guns and everything and so. And you telling me the fear not there? You have to address the fear of crime. Don't try for bamboozle with the figures. And then also there's what I call the dark figures in crime that they don't talk about. Crimes that are reported, and because people don't get confidence that the police would solve the crime, they won't report them. And in some there's a large number of we have the dark figures in crime, where crime are committed, but people aren't reporting them because they don't have confidence in the police, and they say, hey, let's say report to the police can't do nothing. So don't go and give me stats. Stats is just a compilation. Let us know whether you are efficient or effective. And I say, go to your clients, go to the community, do surveys and find out what's going on. And also you have to address the fear of crime, face reality, what is going on in this society.
Yeah, they're not facing reality. The reality is that people are scared, or as the cowboys say, they're scared. People are scared, right? People are scared. Now let me adjust one in moving on. This is not in keeping, maybe not anti exposing corruption and incompetence, but I saw this and I thought I'd share it with you. This is something. President Mother files lawsuit in Canada against Facebook and Melly Mel over gangster granny claims. This is something I just saw on social media. Let me read a part of it for you. We are going to it another day, but just so I'll give you a part. The mother of President Irfan Ali, Bibi Nisha Ali, has filed a multi-million-dollar lawsuit in Canada against international social media company Meta, Facebook, and Guyanese social media commentator Melissa Atwell, aka Melly Mel, over statements published on the platform earlier this year, allegedly by Ms. Atwell. Some of those statements made reference to allegations of corruption that allegedly involved the president's mother. The statements were reportedly made initially in a separate television news interview with a businessman. In a lawsuit seen by News Source, Mrs. Ali contends that the defendants have committed libel against her on multiple occasions, affecting her directly as well as her children and extended family. Through her attorney, Selwyn Peters, Mrs. Ali detailed in her lawsuit how on multiple occasions in August, there were several publications on the platform by Miss Atwell alleging that she was involved in corruption and get drawbacks from contracts. She stated that she was referred to as Gangster Granny in many of the statements on social media. Mrs. Ali, who is a Canadian citizen, noted in her filings that she filed the matter in the Canadian-based court because it was there that she suffered damages. The damage, I said damages, they say she suffered damages. I'm not sure if it's damages. The damage caused to the plaintiff, and this is quote, the damage caused to the plaintiff is a direct result of the defendant's business activities in the province of Ontario, which allowed the libelous publication to be accessible to any person in Ontario with an electronic device which account accesses Facebook. Accordingly, it is in the interest of justice that this honorable court exercise jurisdiction over this litigation. End of quote. Mrs. Ali said in court papers. Mrs. Ali said the words published against her, both in the video and written formats, were false and defamatory, and implied that she participates in corruption for the benefit of her son, who is the president of Guyana, accept bribes on behalf of her son, and engage in coercing contractors for kickbacks. Mrs. Ali stated that the defendant should have known that the statement made would have been widely publicized and should have conducted their due diligence before publishing the statements, which she said were libelous. Quote again, due to the seriousness of the allegations against Bibi, which include claim that she was coercing contractors to pay bribes and kickbacks of 5% of contracts for the benefit of the president of Guyana, the defendants had a duty to thoroughly research, investigate, and scrutinize the veracity of Junior Bash's comments before publishing them. The defendants also had a duty to report information of which they were aware could reasonably ascertain that information was inconsistent with or raised questions about Bash's allegations, the lawsuit stated. Then again, they're making a mistake here. You got to walk up news source. Got to say, Mr. Ali, Mrs. Ali, Mr. Ali stated, they make some mistake in court papers, that she had decades-long service as an educator and is regarded as an upstanding citizen both in Guyana and Canada. She noted that the defendants were reckless and irresponsible in their publication, which caused her harm. She noted that even businessmen, again, they're writing who made the allegation, they said, and this is what they say, it caused a little problem for Reed. She noted that even businessmen who made the allegation in the video recording had no direct or personal knowledge and was relying on hearsay. Mrs. Ali said she suffered physical, emotional, and psychological harm, as well as anxiety, stress, and mental anguish as a result of the incident. I have to read that to you all, man. They're going to make much comment, but I read it. Lawsuit filed in Canada against Melly Mel and Facebook. The parent company, I think, is Meta, M-E-T-A. Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg, the file against you. Under the end state, what is the amount of money they're asking for, man? I got to find out. That didn't state that, but be interesting. Interesting to let's see where that will go. Very interesting to see where that. So I'm just reading that for your information. That came out this morning. But let me move to another issue, right? I ain't gonna go into it. The time would not permit for me to go, for us to go into it in all the details today, right? But I thought I'll whet your appetite, right? I'll whet your appetite. And here, what this thing says this morning, Sabrok News today. Guyana remains committed to eliminating corruption. I mean, this got to be no big thing or stretch out magazine. This is Nandlal, the Attorney General, reporting to the United Nations Convention Against Corruption in Doha. You know, Nandlal said, Guyana remains committed to eliminating corruption. That is what he tell the people them at Doha. Guyana remains committed. Huh? You had a case where not so long ago, Guyana said there ain't no corruption in Guyana. We have been talking, this program has been going on over almost 4 years, exposing corruption incompetence. And what was the government response? Oh, you got corruption. Oh, bring the evidence. Bring the evidence. That is what they were telling us all the time. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Mansour Nadir, banned the word corruption from being used in Parliament. So how come Nandela going to tell the United Nations now that Guyana committed to eliminating corruption? How come? All of a sudden, but this word this is one of, I don't think the Oxford Dictionary, I think it is every year does get a new word. So wait, Guyana Dictionary now get this new word named corruption? The United States government sanctioned a government official, May Toussaint Thomas, from the Ministry of Home Affairs for corruption. And what did they do? What did the government do? Nothing. Nothing. The same allegation that they're referring to, they call Junior Bosch name, who went and made a recording, which was widely broadcast, alleging all sorts of corruption involving the president as well. What have they done if you're so interested in corruption? You go to the UN and you're telling them that? We can go into it in any detail. Vice News allegation or Vice News expose where there is alleged that Barack Jalagio, the vice president, takes $500,000 from Chinese businessmen for negotiate contracts and so on. What have you done? No investigation at all. None. And Dandalal, I think, I don't know if it's the same body, but I remember it was last year, Gail Teixeira, Minister of Governance or something like that, Parliamentary Affairs and Governance, went to tell many people, directly asked her about allegation that the vice president is involved in corruption and why there was no investigation. You know what she tell them? She tell them, said nobody make no report to the police, and therefore that is why it didn't investigate. It wasn't investigated. Nobody made a report to the police. So even though this video was circulated all over the world, which resulted in Isabel Young, I think the journalist name, winning a global award for journalism as a result of that thing. And they're still waiting for somebody to go and make a report to the police. They're waiting for somebody got to bring them a second report that the vice president involved in corruption. Right? You get so many other things. You get police senior officer, Imnat Shah, sanctioned as a drug trafficker. No investigation. And you have so many others. Police officer, 252 criminal charges. You, government, Nandela and them brought this against the police officer. And what has happened? Each charge, have you investigated facilitators? Corruption, you got a commissioner of police, Clifton Ikin, admitted in a statement, or he confessed in a statement, that he took 8.5 million from a businessman. And that is not corruption. And Nandalal goes to this UN body to tell them that Guyana remains committed to eliminating corruption. I'm not going to read the thing now. We'll come back to it on another day. I'm not going to read it now. But let me play y'all. I want to play y'all a tape that and you form your own view when you listen. Let me play this one. Play this one now, right?
This is what corruption under the PPP government looks like. Behind me is a massive, newly constructed mansion on a sprawling plot of prime land in Providence, belonging to one of the sons of the Minister of Agriculture, Zulfikar Mustafa. This mansion is sitting on 3 lots and explains the scale of this property and why so many Guyanese are unable to get access to house lots. Javed Mustafa is a medical doctor, yet he has never practiced even for 1 hour in his life. He is able to uphold his lavish lifestyle through rampant corruption at the Ministry of Agriculture, where billions of dollars are funneled through shell companies, while the farmers, fisher folk, and other persons in the agriculture sector continue to suffer. This 30-year-old son of Minister Zulfikar came from very humble beginnings, where the minister and his family lived in a 20 by 30 simple wooden house in Bloomfield, Berbice, in just 2020, where I once visited their home. In less than 5 years, the minister and his family's homes have transformed exponentially. How does a public servant being paid less than $1.2 million a month, serving for only a few years, come to be linked to assets of this magnitude? Additionally, just in front of the minister's son's mansion sits a massive apartment complex still under construction, also belonging to the son of Minister Zulfikar. This neighborhood was once an area where scores of squatters were forcefully removed from the vicinity of this area to clear the land for the benefit of the ministers, their children, and their friends. These guys are public servants, while business persons have had to struggle for years, save, and work for decades to achieve this level of success. The Mohammeds have been in business for more than 40 years, and what it took us decades to build, it seems these PPP public servants were able to acquire in just a few years through corrupt means. No wonder the Speaker of the House banned the word corruption from Parliament. Under the PPP government, it appears that being in public office allows you to amass billions in no time. I trust that the US authorities are taking note of this level of massive corruption in the PPP government. More to come on how ministers and their family members are able to acquire luxury vehicles and properties valued in the billions under the Irfan Ali government.
Now let me, you see, you already there for yourself. And let me show you all this other picture. Let me show you this picture. You see this? This is the property that, incidentally, in case you all know, that gentleman that you saw there making a statement is Ashuddin Mohammed, the leader of the We Invest for Guyana, who is expected to be the leader of the opposition. Whenever Nadir decides to call that meeting of the members of the opposition to elect a leader, this is the property, sprawling property. According to what Mohammed just said, in 5 years, the Minister of Agriculture's son, well, I'm going to tell you it's not corruption. You know, I'm going to tell you the man made wise investments and all that. That's what I'm going to tell you, man. He invested. Or they might even tell you the man inherited. Or maybe he win the US Powerball, which is over $1 billion now, I understand. Right? Maybe even them think to get them type of money to build this type of property in such a short time. But don't forget, back in early days, President place at Leonora. Y'all don't forget these things, right? Now, where can a doctor performing in Guyana, well, let's say you're doing doctor work. So I would like to know what investments he has. What are his businesses to be able to acquire enough wealth to build such a sprawling residential property, and then they say building some other complex there and so on in that short space of time. And they will tell you, oh, it's not nothing to do with corruption. And they will tell you, well, it's Ashuddin Mohammed making a statement and his sour grapes. But I remember the saying, old people say, if Uri come from river bottom and tell you, say, Patwa get fever, you got to believe him. Let me repeat that. If Uri come from river bottom and tell you, say, Patwa get fever, you got to believe him. You know, Uri and Patwa, in case for you people, non-Guyanese, they are two fishes. And if they dwell at the bottom of the river, and one comes up to tell you that the other one is ill, you got to believe because he was there. And we all know that Ashuddin Mohammed was in the bosom of the PPP. So if he come now and tell you all this, you got to believe. You got to believe. And the evidence is there. So if I'm going to deal with Nandalal's statement further at another time, the statement that he made. The statement that he made. We talk about corruption with guns. Weapon, gun license. The president, Irfan Ali, admitted recently about the corruption in the driver's licensing system when he said you can give them 6 weeks amnesty to surrender. It's corruption. So I guess Nandal can explain, well, the government is giving them 6 weeks to put themselves in order. A crime is committed. The president told the nation that he has evidence of all those who were issued the license bypassing the system. That is a euphemism he used, bypassing the system. Isn't that a crime? And if you, according to Nandalal, if you committed to eliminating corruption, would you not have caused an investigation? Pick up those people because you have the names. You get the address and start an investigation. You're interested in crime, you got to the door to talk a lot of lies. You go to the door to tell a lot of lies. Right? And there's so many other things. I mean, sometimes when you read what these people say, right? You want to know out there to sleep when the night come. Many of them don't sleep, I don't think. Out there sleep when the night come. Blatant lies they're telling. And that is why we are committed to come in on this program and to expose all of these lies. Bring facts. Place the facts before you. And you, as reasonable people, must make a determination. You. Because if you read what they say, if you read what they're saying, you believe this is paradise. They believe like banning the word corruption in parliament means that there's no corruption. Refusing to investigate credible evidence of corruption is no corruption. Coming back to that Junior Bash interview, which forms part of the subject of the lawsuit that I tell about with the president's mother. That man detailed, the details that he gave in that interview are sufficient for a credible investigation to be launched. The man call names, the man call places, the man tell you how the runnings that's got with the goal and the Venezuelan military and all that. And what have they done? What has the government done in respect to this matter? Nothing as far as we are aware. In terms of the president's mother, there was a retraction. The man said, remember, the man allegation was never that he gave the president's mother anything. He never said so. He said Sona told him that. Well, that's hearsay. I agree, that's hearsay. Sona told him that. And he retracted that. He retracted the part in respect to the president's mother. But he never retracted the other allegations made in that interview. At least there was never any public retraction. So when he came out and he retracted the part about the president's mother, one would have thought that if the others were untrue or untrue, he would have said immediately there and then too that the other things that he said were not true. But they didn't do that, and they have not investigated anything. But I said this, that the people are watching. The people get the receipts. Those international bodies, investigative bodies, they have the receipts. That Sugate story, I sure they do. Behavioral scientists analyze Jagdeo body language and all this stuff. But they have come to a conclusion, right? I am sure that the Junior Bash allegation about the generals of Venezuela going to Brazil and interact with the Guyanese and buy gold, sell gold to them, I'm sure the people would have done this stuff. I am sure the people would have done this stuff. We saw recently the police officer saw talking about the sanction that the U.S. imposed against him. And we said that you believe them people are doing the work. You believe that the United States government is going to impose sanctions against a serving police officer, sanctions to say he's a drug trafficker. Based on what? Based on any flimsy evidence? They would have gone in, they would have done their work, they would have done the research. This is not SOCO investigating this matter. These are credible people investigating. So Nandalal can say whatever he wants to say. The evidence is there. And, you know, again, I say, they go to these people and they make these statements. And I believe the people can believe them. But those people have sources. They have sources that they are going to, and they have the resources to follow up and do their own independent investigation to confirm whether what he's saying is true or not. And that is why I say to you folks, programs like these are very, very important. They're not going to come and listen to Speaking Out Night and believe what we say. No, they're going to come to listen. When they come to Speaking Out, if they listen to somebody tell them, they're going to do background. Who is Paul Slow? Who is Clinton Conway? They do proper background to determine how credible these people are. And then they do the investigation to determine how truthful some of these statements, some of these allegations are. That is the way how it is done. Not on the law, they fly till the door and then make some statement there, like Gil share when they make some statement and so on. And they send the man, now I'll go there, according to Lord Nelson, Teacher Percy say, if you tell a lie, you're going to hell as soon as you die. So them go to hell before they die because they're telling so much lies. They will go to hell before they die. That is what's going on. Right? Let me bring in CC for him to have his comment on this statement and in terms of corruption and all that. Right? And the minister's son, mansion, and all them things. CC, go, have your go, man.
Corruption is so widespread, you know. And then the speaker banned it from president, from parliament. We heard the allegation against the vice president. As you mentioned, the woman, the reporter, won a global award. We know about the gun runnings, the corruption. The president talk about driver's license. We know corruption in the government ministry. May Thomas and others. So much of corruption in this country, but maybe the corruption and then door, or maybe door no, but corruption. Let me see if I could find a fancy statement to close off. It is corrupt to say that government is committed to deal with corruption. It is corrupt to say that government is committed to deal with corruption. The statement that Nanlal made in Doha. And let me close out there.
Well, let me show you all next one. Talk about dealing with corruption. You have this allegation floating around. Let's play this one for y'all too. It's all along. Well, it get a little length, but we get enough time. Let's say this. Listen to this.
Good morning, Travis Chase. Richie Rich from the Bad Family Music. So, I've been watching your page, the scams, and I'm...
Sorry, there's the wrong tape. This is the one.
The silence is deafening. For weeks, explosive evidence has been emerging under Operation Project Myra, audio recordings, whistleblower testimony, tampered vintags, altered titles, reclassified engine, and allegations of billions in lost taxes linked to a well-connected Guyanese luxury car dealer. But while the scandal widens, the institutions charged with protecting the public purse appear mute. Nightly News understands that even as affected consumers step forward, as foreign authorities highlight cross-border criminal links, and as new revelations surface almost daily, neither the Guyana Revenue Authority nor the Guyana Police Force has issued a substantial update. Not one briefing, not one assurance, not one clear outline of a robust independent investigation. The administration, which has repeatedly declared a zero-tolerance approach to corruption, has taken no visible action in the face of what now appears to be a long-running, multi-billion-dollar tax evasion ring. The Guyana Revenue Authority, which routinely seizes small items for minor infractions, remains silent when dozens, possibly hundreds of high-value vehicles may have entered Guyana through fraud. The Guyana Police Force, which swiftly act on far lesser issues, remain tight-lipped about a scandal involving rewind vehicles, forged documentation, and possible organized criminal activity. As Operation Myra expands, foreign investigators have already taken steps. Canadian authorities have flagged suspicious exports. U.S. sources have raised questions about cross-border links as Guyanese consumers continue to come forward with tampered vehicles and mismatched documentation. Yet, here at home, the agencies responsible seem unwilling or unable to confront the issue head-on. The questions that therefore persist are, is the well-connected car dealer being protected? Is there deliberate efforts to shield powerful individuals? And most importantly, who benefits from the silence? Operation Myra has already made one thing clear. This is no minor paperwork glitch. This is a massive, deeply embedded tax evasion and vehicle fraud scheme with serious international implications. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News.
Talk about corruption, but let me play this to y'all, man. Talk about corruption. Listen to this. This is a new drop.
Five more years of fear in your chest, whisper in your ear. 5 more years of keep man smiling while the poor man tear. Election done, the mass still on. Promises sweet, but the sugar gone. Infrastructure cracking, contracts wide. Billions missing on the government side. 5 more years, the chain still tight. 5 more years, no justice in sight. 5 more years, corruption feast. 5 more years, the rich increase. Yeah. Intimidation in the village square. Critics silence cause they stare and dare. Data best tamper, the vote not clean. Fear of victimization in every scene. 5 more years, the people cry. 5 more years of watching truth die. 5 more years, democracy bend. 5 more years with no real end. But fire still burning low in the street. Whisper turn shout when the people meet. History teach no regime too strong. The night feel long, but it can't last long. So count it well, let the record show. 5 more years, but resistance grow. 5 more years, but the day will come when the people rise and the thief man run.
Here they take 5 more years, man. 5 more years. 5 more years from them. 5 more years from them. Comrade, let me tell you something. This thing with this corruption thing, we can't done. We can continue, we can come back. Because that is the theme of this program. Exposing corruption and incompetence. And no one who's following what is going on in Guyana, even the supporters of this government, can deny that there's massive corruption. Can't deny, the evidence is there. The government itself now, in the run-up to the last election, actually tell you now the whole farm anti-corruption unit. And well, if they got corruption, why are you farming anti-corruption unit? You are denying all the time that there's corruption. But suddenly they run up the election, I suspect, because of all the comments made by the international organizations and so on, you suddenly decide you're going to form anti-corruption unit. which has not been formed as yet. So obviously, that is of no real importance and significance, because one would have thought if you had considered it that important and significant, immediately you return to office, you would have dealt with it. Corruption. The fact that up to now, the Speaker of the National Assembly, Mansour Nadir, can't call a meeting of the members of the opposition to elect or to leader of the opposition. That too is corruption. Because we told you corruption is not only passing money, it's not only but it's using your office to influence certain things. That too can be described as corruption. So I don't know what Nandalal I'm saying. I suspect, I have a suspicion that this time around, when they say Minister of Governance is guilty, sure, parliamentary affairs, governance. So should I tell them, me ain't going this time? I went the last time there, and I get lashed because when they asked me a question, I really couldn't answer, and I look bad. Not shame, because as the people say, this government can get shame. That is the strength of the PPP, is that they have no shame. That is what is being said. They ain't got no shame. So Nandalal can go to Doha and tell the people them all this rubbish about what they're doing. He said a lot of stuff. As I said, we're going to come back to it. He said a lot of things, man. How they get an independent auditor general office and all them type of thing they're telling them. You got a Public Accounts Committee. Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, where they're going to change the rules to make sure that the committee can meet. They change the rules so the committee can meet to examine the public accounts. All that is corruption. All that is corruption. President get a vision, turns up at the police place there just before election and decide thousands of policemen should be promoted. And now we're going to go into that on Friday. Now they're talking about you must get qualification, you must get English, and you must get maths. Them people that he promote or that he ordered promote unlawfully and illegally, they get the qualifications that should get to get promotion. Did they pass appropriate qualifying examinations and all of that? Yeah? Look, let me tell you something. And I love when they write, as I told you all repeatedly, I like when they write and when they talk, especially when they write. Because when they write, I can analyze the statement and come and break it down for the students. Break it down. Break it down for you for understand what go there. Right? These people have no shame. They have no shame. Right? And sometimes you get worked up when you see this thing because you're living the thing. You see what's going on. All the allegations that are being made. Corruption in every facet of life in Guyana. All over. Rampant corruption. And then they come out and they try to show some perfume on the thing. Oh, the people who bypass the law and the driver system, we're going to give them 6 weeks, following which we'll publicize their names. They get 6 weeks to turn themselves in and to go through the correct process. It's corruption. It's corruption caused them, and it's been pointed out a long time now, corruption. And that is the way the president decides it should be dealt with. Give them 6 weeks grace period. Who turning themselves in? One would have thought that if the president was serious, he would have ensured that an investigation is done to get to the bottom of these things. Who are the people facilitating this corruption? One would have thought that would have been the question that they wanted answered. Who are the people facilitating the corruption with the driver's license, with the gun license, and all those other aspects of corruption? We played you the 5 episode of the Barbie's Bridge. Corruption. I have some more to play for you with Skeldon Factory and all of that. Corruption. It is widespread. And they're not going to do. You see that right long ago, they say in the ancient days, you go there, you tell a lie, lightning flash, blah, blah, and then you fall down right there. Lightning flash, you fall down, telling lies, right? Telling lies. If they used to happen, is a lot of them, they gone from this face of the earth. I see the bishop up on the bridge, the town engineer now. So people say that the new bridge where they build there, they call them the Barajak, the old bridge. That's people point out some problem with the surface. Oh, Angel is an engineer. Nothing is structurally wrong. The thing is concrete and the asphalt is only put at the top and all them type of thing. And don't engineer. New bridge. People like them define problems. The Heroes Highway recently built. They now got for $4 billion to widen a road that was built just about 2 years ago. You tell me there's not corruption? You telling me there's not corruption? A minister's son, right? Minister's son, look, sprawling property. Minister's son. Oh, in heaven's name, you want to tell me you could acquire all of those things lawfully and legally? If he did that, why you believe other people and doing similar? They would never want to have an investigation into that. Never. You had the thing, remember the housing? The man at housing, the Graves, I think was his name, buy some property in Queens, New York, $1 million or 900 or something thousand US. A public servant buy them property. What happened to them investigation in there? What happened to that investigation? Nothing. Nothing. And that is why we say that the corruption is right. And I believe this. It's my belief that the reason why they don't have any appetite to investigate those things, because it will lead right back to them. It will lead right back to those people. You see, Azzuddin Mohammed coming out now and making statements, as I say, Uri come from River Bottom and tell you Patoga fever. He been there. He used to interact with them. So he must know what's going on. But now that they fall out, he come in and talk. Now that they fall out and they're going to run for cover, they're going to say, sour grape, because he facing criminal charges. Yeah, he facing extradition and all them. But why are the others not facing similar sanctions and so on? You think Mohammed is the only person alleged to be smuggling gold out of Ghana? Yeah? And according to the allegation, he was never the biggest one. He was never the biggest gold smuggler. But you come after him. And the reason why you came after him, as Emil Mervyn said in a letter in today's Stabrook News. Yeah, I must read it. Emil Mervyn, a letter in today's Stabrook News, speak to the issue. And he said the only reason why they coming after Mohammed, because the man, you say you have a turn politician for challenge their political powers. Others who doing it, then so bold to challenge them politically. But Mohammed decided to challenge them politically. That is why they have to go after him viciously. But the man said, we all know others are smuggling the gold too. Others smuggling gold, others doing all sort of thing, the laundering money and all sort of thing too. But, that is what it is. Animal farm. All animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. Let me bring in CC for his closing remarks, and then we're going to take our leave of this Christmas time. I know you got work to do. We have work to do as well. CC, let me get your closing.
Others are smuggling the gold, and I wonder when they're going to tackle Morodi Mountain with the Brazilian running things. Massive gold smuggling, tons and tons of golds. They're producing, declaring a little, excuse me, the undeclared across the Takatu to Brazil. And the guy who they hold in at Ivlery in a house said they want him as witness, they get him as witness protection, protecting him, holding him against his will so he could testify. Want him there under atrocious condition. I wonder when they're going to release him. And I'm saying going back to Morodi Mountain, Shelton, tons of gold being produced undeclared across the Takatu River to Brazil.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Today is Wednesday. Long ago, we used to, on a Thursday, we used to get the 2 o'clock cuss out, 2 o'clock cuss out. But now the guy suffering from Lamborghini.
I don't give a shit about his Lamborghini. But
so that disease, partly, that ailment has caused him to scale back on his public appearance, and especially the 2 o'clock Thursday. Because the last 2 o'clock Thursday cuss out, you know, in that Chimakumi, Tanti Moala de Oval, was on the 6th of November, 2025. We had nothing then. There's a lot of Thursdays passed since then, and we ain't anything for them. So got to be Lamborghini-itis taking effect. But you know, there's a God. And for all the wicked things that these people do, they all have to pay at some stage. They don't believe in, none of them believe in God and understanding. So we could understand them. Or maybe we can't. But they got to answer for all of these. All of us have to answer for what we have done. We all have to answer. So folks, as I said, next week, Wednesday, is Christmas Eve day. In case you all didn't realize, it's around the corner. This weekend coming up is the last weekend before Christmas. So all you good husbands and so on, myself included, make sure you do whatever chores the goodly lady wants you to do, right? If you got to help bake cake, because a lot of people can bake cake this weekend. If you got to help go into the shopping, well, if you got to do the thing, man. Do thing. Don't worry, lay down back there, say you're watching TV and so on. Don't worry, sit back and watch cricket. I watched cricket last night, but I make sure I did my chores because in the Ashes match there with Australia and England, I believe Australia recovered to end at 326. I think it is 8 after the first day. One would say the match is in a balance. Well, remember the onus is on England to get one, to draw back one, because Australia win the series decide. It's a 5-test series. Australia are 2 up, and this one, you know. So let me see what happens. And Australia now, I believe Australia now is stronger than they were for the previous 2 matches. Because the captain Cummins has returned, and they brought in Nathan Lyle, the off spinner, and I see England get a makeshift off spinner there, who get in the ball to bounce and turn. I could imagine Nathan Lyon against those left-handers. So let me see what can happen tonight. First of all, Stark and Lions batting. I am sure they're going to try to hang in there and try to get the next 30, 40 runs. That is what the aim will be. I know they're going to succeed, but they will try to get another 30, 40 runs. And so if they get another 30, 40, they're going to 30 and be 350-something, 360 runs in the first innings game. It's good runs. You got to call with a bowling attack. The Australia get there. Stark and Cummins, right? Stark and Cummins with Bolam, Lyon, and Cam Green. Oh, my Lord. Let's see what can happen. Let's see what is going to happen here tonight. But I believe, it is my belief, that tonight's game will go a long way towards indicating the outcome of this test match. Because if England, when the turn comes for them to bat, if they men sit down there and decide they got to bat for at least 2 days, right? The remainder today and deep into tomorrow. If they can't do that, they are in serious, serious trouble. They are in serious, serious trouble. So, folks, and I think is when West Indies playing. West Indies playing tonight, I think. West Indies supposed to be playing. There was a match scheduled for today with India and South Africa. I understand rain intervened and at the last say, you know that short essay when the teacher asks the Balgobin to write an essay about cricket, you know, big exam, write an essay about cricket. 3 words. 3 words Balgobin wrote. Rain, no play. Rain, no play. That is what's going on. So let's, us cricket fans, let's see what is going on and so on. Let's see what's going on. Folks, we have had a long morning. Thanks for your attendance. Again, fantastic attendance, even when you consider this time of the year when people are busy with all type of housework and shopping and all of that. It's good to see the type of attendance we have. You see the numbers are there for those of you who are in a position to make a contribution. I have noted, even while the program was going on, I think 2 students have made contributions. We thank you very much for that. We thank you very much and ask those who are in a position to make the contribution. The Zelle Cash App number is there and MMG number is there as well. And thanking you in advance. As we said, Christmas is the time for giving. Christmas, we give you a lot of knowledge and we hope that you will reciprocate and give us a little something. Give us a little something right? That's all that we ask. Folks, the next program is scheduled for Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock. That's 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 5 o'clock Guyana time. God's willing, God's pray life. We will see you then. But as we always say, be safe, be safe, be safe, especially at this time. Rain falling. Thief man gonna forget money for spend too, Don't ever forget that. You, the honest, hard-working people, got to spend and enjoy Christmas. Thief man want to enjoy Christmas too. And if you make yourself careless, thief man gonna enjoy Christmas at your expense. Right? So, folks, have a wonderful rest of the evening and tomorrow and so on till we meet again. God's Pray Life on Friday. Stay well. Bye.